Welcome to Behind the Bima. Super excited for our newest episode. A great conversation with the founder of United Hatzalah, Eli Beer, about leadership, about life, about lifestyle, about his upbringing, and much more. But first, Rabbi Maskos, I'm excited to be with you and learn more about your life and your lifestyle.
Well, I'm an open book. You could ask whatever I want.
Okay, tell me about your running. Are you still running these days?
I am still running these days. I'm actually training for a half marathon, the Miami half marathon with High Lifeline. And, it's interesting because I've been running really early in the morning, specifically Sunday mornings are the long run. So I did 10 miles this last Sunday. And it means getting out really early in the morning. With sunrise here now, not until mid-sevens, you're really running in the dark by yourself for a long time. No, it actually, I want you to know, it's amazingly hypnotic and very introspective experience because it's you in the road. And
you run with other people or just by yourself?
No, on the long runs, I only run by myself.
By yourself.
And you're out there for a long time.
Headphones? You listening to anything?
No headphones.
Really?
Me and Mother Nature.
Stop it.
Yes.
How long does a 10-mile run take?
Hour 35.
Hour 35. So you spend an hour 35 by yourself in your head.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I recommend it for anyone.
Not listening. No music, no podcast, nothing.
There are two sounds that you hear. The sound of your feet and the sound of your breathing. And it puts you into this trance, especially that early in the morning because you can't even see anything. It's pitch black. And it puts you into this trance that it's amazing. I do my best thinking.
Will you share your route or you don't want anyone to see or capture?
First of all,
are you running the circle?
No. I need 400 people seeing me. No. I get off the circle but each route's a little bit different. And you try to mix it up because you don't want it to be monotonous.
Okay.
But it's amazing and I love it and I look forward to it. And this Sunday.
I want to be you in my next life.
No, you don't.
I've tried so many times to run. I find it miserable, boring. What you described as amazing, all you hear is the sound of your feet and the sound of your breath are what makes it miserable.
So, but
I could play tennis to the point that I'm passing out and dying on a point. But the same amount, like 1 minute into running, I'm like, okay, that's enough. I'm good.
So I'll tell you what I love about it. And maybe we could pivot to this conversation, but there's only one person you're competing against when you're running.
Right.
And that is yourself. From the second I step out of my house until the second I get back to my house, it is a constant battle between my body and my mind. And to me, there's something very special about that experience. I think it builds up certain muscles within willpower, self-control, tolerance. And that to me is what it's all about.
But are you miserable the whole time and doing it nonetheless? Or you actually get to this runner high and I'm enjoying it and the endorphins and I don't ever want it to stop?
No. So first of all, anyone who tells you that's lying. In an hour and 35 minutes that I'm running, it vacillates, it waves. There are miles where I feel like I'm gliding and I could just go on forever. And then there are miles where I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? Get me home. I want my coffee. I want my bagel as soon as possible. And I think that's part of the fun of it also, is it keeps the challenge going.
Do you take sips? Do you drink?
So once I cross a certain time period that I'm out there to keep sugar levels up, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm eating a little bit. I'm drinking a little bit just to...
Do you pause or you keep running through the eating and drinking?
Keep running. You don't pause.
Keep reading while you're eating and drinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, it could be one of my children was supposed to pick up some things for me to use while I was running this week, and they didn't, and I had to pull an audible pretty early in the morning. Yeah. That's part of the fun of it.
How does your family feel about it? Like, are they sick and tired of hearing about it, or do they miss you the time you spend on it, or they're proud of you?
Unlike I know you think, I don't talk about it all the time. I actually haven't mentioned it to you at all that I'm running.
You don't?
My family's come around. I would say at the beginning, they thought it was a little bit absurd, but I think they realize it has a massive psychological impact on me. It relaxes me, the endorphins, whatever psychologically and, scientifically is happening in my body, it definitely makes me a better person. I think my family realizes this so much so every now and then they'll say, why don't you go for a run and you'll come back when you're more relaxed.
Have you been able to recruit any of them to run with you? Do you take your children with you on a run or do you want to keep things separate?
No.
Separation of church and
state. But I do, on shorter runs, I do run with people in the community.
Okay.
Some people may have seen us out there. And that's fun because when you're going short distances and, Friday afternoons we go out there, we're sharing Divrei Torah on the Parsha, and it's like a fun experience and you'll pick up people along the way. So you might not have realized that one of your other friends is out on a run and you'll pass them and you'll pick them up and, you could have, this week we had 5 guys going out there. It was a lot of fun.
And does your sleep the night before impact the quality, or like your nutrition, your sleep? Are you at that level that you're like monitoring now and watching and training? Like the right sneakers, coaching, the right step,
so first of all,
the right...
100%. Once you get past a certain mileage, it takes over your thinking because you're either preparing for a run, you're compensating post a run, you're making sure you're getting calories in, carbs in, protein in. And so, yeah, you think about it a lot, but I've learned I don't share it with you. I don't share it with my family because I know how you feel about runners who share it, but I do my thing.
No, I tell you the truth. The biggest issue I have is envy. Like I wish, because it costs you, the shoes, but generally you could be anywhere, anytime, and you just put on a pair of sneakers and you're exercising. You don't need a gym membership, and you don't need someone to play against, and you don't need equipment for it for the most part.
Right.
So I wish I was in that. What you're describing, clearing the head.
In fact, I actually think
torturous.
I actually think you lost a bet at some point that required.
I did
you
a
to
run.
With
I
me
don't
a
think I
bit.
made it as far as I was supposed to, but I did. What would be amazing for your running, for recovery afterwards?
Yeah. An ice bath.
Ice bath. Took an ice plunge afterwards, the recovery.
I'm sure that's just what your wife would want, is after I come back from my 10-mile run to go into your bathroom and use your ice bath.
No, I didn't say you should use it at my house. What would be great for you would be, but I wish I were into that. I've tried. There are things in my life I've tried. I went from what people call coffee, which is a milkshake, to black coffee, and I'm proud of that. Worked my way off of the milkshake. I'm black coffee like a real man all the time. Never concerned about being fleischiks, never worried about kashas where I am, never needing my creamer on the road. And I've tried. There's certain things I've tried.
What's that
I've
thing?
tried the running.
But what's that thing? So for me, running is that thing when I need to blow off energy, when I need to do some thinking, when I need to de-stress myself. Running's my thing.
Yeah.
We all know the ice bath. Other than the ice bath, what's your thing, Rabbi Goldberg, when you're having that day and you're like, I just need to blow off some steam right now? Is it a book? Is it learning? Is it tennis? Is it golf? What is it?
First of all, I try to go for a walk every day. We live in paradise, although it's frigidly cold. I think it's in the 60s today. It's very cold.
I just had to take off my sweatshirt, yeah.
And we live also in paradise, that we're right next to this beautiful lake with all kinds of animal life around it. And so I made a commitment to myself, and for the most part I've kept it, that in the middle of the day, every day, to try to find a way to just go for a walk around the lake. It is far from exercise. It doesn't register as running or jogging. It doesn't get up my heart rate. I don't change into other clothing for it. But in this weather, in the summer, it's a little hot or a little harder. But now just to go for a walk, like you said, just first of all, the vitamin D, the sunlight, the natural air, being outside, hearing birds chirping and seeing iguanas across in front of you, and ducks and turtles and frogs, and it's all really worthwhile. I try to do a lot of meetings that way. So if someone's coming to meet with me about something very confidential or private or emotional, obviously I don't say, hey, let's go for a walk. But let's say someone's coming about something we're working on, I don't know, and I can say, let's go for a walk. So we'll go for a walk around the lake, and I find that fantastic. I enjoy that a lot.
It's funny you said that, because I was
we run into each other a lot.
First of all, we run into each other a lot. But second of all, someone asked me to meet last week. And I said, sure, you can come meet to my office. He goes, no, when I meet with Rabbi Goldberg, we take a walk.
There you go.
I said, okay, that's apparently the new standard meeting.
And I don't do it like I'm proselytizing we should be walking. It's just convenient. Like time passes. I'll tell you the other thing also with it, which I found very interesting. Do you remember that we had Dr. Gabriel Fagan came here and brought his expertise in a lot of different areas, but one of them was teaching fathers how to talk to their sons about the conversation and the talk. And one of the takeaways from that, which at the time, I had a lot of daughters, I wasn't listening so carefully, but now I have a son that I actually used, was that when you're ready for the conversation, the talk, or sometimes what can be awkward talks, sensitive talks, do it, he said, either while driving a car or going for a walk. We need to sit opposite each other and make eye contact, and it's awkward. But if you're walking together, every now and then you look over, but you're generally looking outside. When you're driving, the person's like, you're having a conversation. And that's what happens sometimes on these walks, also in these meetings, which is very valuable. So I like to go for a walk. I like to listen to comedy.
Would you recommend that for like marital counseling? In other words, if a couple was fighting, would you say go for a walk? You're not staring contentiously at one another. Sure. This way you could
They have to know each other. If they're going to be in the middle of a public place yelling and screaming and calling each other's names, probably a bad idea. But if actually sometimes being in public will help you keep it together and communicate at the decibel level that you should, I think it could be fantastic.
Because I got that advice once when Ariel and I had to make a difficult decision at some point. We got advice from someone. They said, go to a restaurant and only have these conversations in public.
Right.
They said, because if you're in private, if you're in public, you're going to behave yourselves. Everyone's going to stay calm. And it was the best advice ever. For
sure. Yeah. So I like to go for the walk. I try to play tennis once a week and don't always, too many times, don't get to it. But I like to listen to comedy, as I've said many times in the car. Certain podcasts I find very inspiring. It's funny what, my family will see. Like, you're supposed to be relaxing right now, but I'm listening to some productivity podcast that's getting my wheels going and my engines and my juices flowing. That, for me,
see, I've learned that about you. That makes you different. A little
It
weird,
energizes
actually.
me.
Yeah. Most people would find that
You
stressful.
call me weird if you want.
No, I just
I
did.
can
I
take it.
actually think I just called you weird because most people, if they're reading a productivity book, a self-help book, it makes them a little tense because it's pushing them out of their comfort zone a little bit.
Right.
You love it. Like
It
you
makes
go
me
on
wake
vacation, you come back with the 6 books that you read, and I'm not like, buddy, did you relax for a second?
No,
But
that's
that
relaxing.
relaxes you.
That's relaxing. Because like during the year, I can't. Obviously, we love learning Torah. We have our favorite svarim. I don't want anyone to think that we're out there doing. We're running, reading productivity books, listening to comedy and whatever else. I'll have an occasional cigar, which I'm sure I'll get in trouble with for mentioning here. But I also find relaxing and healthier than Diet Coke, which we a long-standing conversation and debate. So yeah, it's important to build that in. Sleep. I'm working on sleep.
Yeah, me
Got to
too.
get enough sleep.
Now, you and I have different sleep patterns also, but
Yeah,
sleep is my Achilles heel.
my issue with sleep, I think different than yours, is not going to bed early enough. Meaning, I may wake up, I may not wake up, but my issue is not the quality of sleep once I go to sleep. My issue is that I wake up early and I mean to go to bed earlier than I used to, but it's hard. I wake up at night and you're finally done whatever you were doing that day, and having the discipline to say I need this minimum amount of sleep. It's hard.
Yeah, it's not just discipline. I mean, you and I have been in meetings that have gone till 10, 10:30, 11 at night. And I try to, it's hard to just come home and go to sleep after that.
Shut
you
down.
need to unwind. Your brain is on 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it just takes time to decompress. And then, as you said, you look at the clock and it's late, and then you're getting up early the next morning.
Yeah. But some of it is discipline, because about those meetings, we know people who'll be like, no, it has to end at this time, or I'm not available then, or this is my schedule. And of course, there can be an exception once every few weeks. But, if 90% of the time you're getting your minimum amount of sleep, you're going to feel different. You're going to produce differently. You're going to serve Hashem differently. And the studies about correlating amount of sleep with dementia later in life, they're scary and startling. Yeah. There's nothing to help you go to sleep earlier than reading those studies and those outcomes and realizing the future.
Now, what would your advice be to someone? Because we have a mutual friend who documents everything.
Yeah.
They have spreadsheets of everything they are working on in life. And if it can't be measured, what's your line? Right?
What gets measured gets managed.
What gets measured gets managed. They have a spreadsheet for everything, and every day they're filling that out. And if there's not, there's that personal shame of I don't have the X. Is that what you would recommend to people? Someone who's working on whether it's sleep or exercise or learning, whatever.
Absolutely.
Is it an Excel spreadsheet?
I've done it for periods for sure. I have a bunch of them. And it's useful because you, first of all, forcing yourself to record it means you're reporting it. And if you're reporting it, you're much more aware of it. And again, they're different personalities. I'm a very competitive person, and I compete even with myself, and I compete even when no one knows. No one sees a spreadsheet. But the idea that I'm not going to check off I did the ice bath. I'm not going to check off that I, whatever it is, didn't bring my phone into davening. I have all these columns and all these things, and you see trends and you see what worked and you see how you were feeling. And I think it's enormously useful, even if you keep it to yourself. But if you create an accountability partner where you say, we're both going to do it together. And now you don't want to be the one who didn't make it, or who didn't make it a bunch of days in a row, and who didn't.
Which is why a chavrusa, Judaism was so ahead of its time. That's what a chavrusa is. If you're not getting up in the morning, then some guy's going to be sitting there by himself, and you don't want to be that person.
I'm past the point of beating myself up about the running, meaning I wish I loved running, but I no longer feel guilty or ashamed I don't. I could have just lean into it, and that doesn't work for me.
Why? But
so now let me find what does. And so as long as it's some form of an exercise or cardio or doing something, so it's true, by the way, for me about running. It's true for other people about other things. It's we sometimes compete and compare. We see what other people are doing. We beat ourselves up. We feel guilt or shame. And instead you have to lean into, that's not me. And it's not going to be me. And stop wishing and pretending it's going to be you, and stop waiting and longing for it to be you. It's not you. So figure out who's you instead. It's not an excuse to not do anything. Just figure out what works for you.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. They say, Rabbi, I can't run like you. I say, take a walk. Go for a 1 mile run instead of a 10-mile run. To me, there's a value in getting out of the house. There's a value in getting exercise. There's a value in getting the endorphins, major mental health, benefits, physical benefits, obviously. Yeah. And 100%, you got to figure out now, is golf a sport?
New topic. Is golf a sport? First of all,
would you consider golf physical exercise?
If you walk, no, I don't consider physical exercise unless you walk. And there's two types of walking. You can decide you're walking all 18 holes, so you're not taking a cart. But there's also, even when you have a cart and another person in it, you could be consciously making this effort that says, I'll meet you up at the green, or I'm walking to the next tee box, or you could be incorporating significant walking into it. And by the end of the day, if you walked 18 holes, or even if you do the modified walking, if you count your steps, you'll see you walked many miles. So then it was a good use of time. And then even if you play poorly, at least you got a good walk out of it.
Do you remember we had a guest on who was, I think, 80, 90, and we asked him what the secret to his longevity is? Do you remember what he said? He said steps. He always took the steps.
Yeah, he was over 100. Always took, It was the couple.
The couple, that's
right. They were both over 100, and they always took the steps. Well, secret of longevity is also doing good things for other people, and we are honored to have spent some time with Eli Beer, a good friend of our community and ours, the extraordinary founder of United Hatzalah, doing amazing work in Israel and beyond. He's been on many podcasts. You've heard a lot of conversations with him, but this one was different. We went somewhere different with him, and that's, I think, evidenced by the fact that he kept saying, that's a great question, or I've never been asked that before. So we hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we did. Without any further ado, the great Eli Beer. We are excited to go behind the Bima again with our dear friend Eli Beer, the founder and president of United Hatzalah, depending who you're talking to.
Or Hatzalah.
Hatzalah.
That's a Syrian community.
Exactly. So we cover all of our bases and grounds. Eli, this is, I don't remember how many times you've been on Behind the Bima with us, but you were with us from the start. When we really began during Corona, when we used to stream live, I think you woke up in the middle of the night in Israel.
Right. Yes.
You were wearing the orange vest in the middle of the night,
Pajamas
cup of coffee,
underneath.
pajamas underneath. And we spoke to you, of course, after the miraculous recovery during Corona. And after October 7th, we also spoke to you. And here we are again, grateful to be live in person, to welcome you back to Boca Raton and Boca Raton Synagogue. So thank you so much, Eli.
It's incredible to be here. This is my 26th year being here. Not every year, but 26 years ago, to see the growth. Couldn't even recognize the building. It's unbelievable. The growth of this community and the shul, it's unbelievable. Really.
We got a lot going on. And I'll say not only to you, and I'll say not only because people are watching, but what we believe in the bottom of our hearts. We're building all of this because it's going to lift up and it's going to come to Israel. We're going to get a great spot right on the beach of Gaza, Boca Raton East. And we're always pushing and encouraging Aliyah, and we're thinking about and making our way there every day. But for now, Jews are making from New York here.
From, though.
Yeah, we're going to
come to Gaza.
Come to Gaza.
We're going to do a fundraiser in Gaza.
Exactly, no problem. You'll come to us.
Behind the Bima in Gaza.
Gaza, there you go.
Do it. We like the ring of it. So Eli, fill us in. What's the latest? What's going on? Hatzalah, Israel, ceasefire. All but 2 of the bodies are back. And obviously, those 2 are still on our minds. We're not done until everyone is home. But tell us the feeling in Israel today, the ceasefire. Have we turned the corner? What does it mean for Hatzalah in your work? How are things going?
Well, I just met Steve Witkoff last night, Thanksgiving. I mean, I don't know when this is broadcast, but I just met him and I told him, like, I was showing him live how Israel had to attack last night in Rafah. And I said, this doesn't look like Hamas is like giving up. And he said, yeah, you're right. I mean, Americans realize that this is not over yet. It was amazing what was done getting the hostages back. I think every Israeli, every Jew in the world felt a relief that our brothers and sisters who are alive and the ones who are not alive, almost everyone are back home. But we still have a long way in front of us, and we see it in Lebanon now. It's happening as we talk now in Lebanon. My son was just serving in Lebanon, and he said, Abba, every building, every home has weapons. We destroyed a lot of them, but still have a lot of buildings and a lot of homes in Lebanon that are weapons that are aimed towards Israel. Same thing in Gaza. We still have a big problem. Hamas is not giving up. They want to hold weapons. They want to rebuild their power. And I really hope that American government, President of the United States, realizes that we're not done with the job.
So can we talk about exhaustion for a second? Because when you tell me that and paint that type of a picture, it's exhausting for me, and I've done nothing for this war. All the more so for the soldiers that we have that are both battling PTSD and their family lives and the interruption of their work life. What's it like for Hatzalah volunteers, right? We're almost 2.5 years post October 7th. Obviously for that was a traumatic day for many of your volunteers. What's the mindset of a Hatzalah volunteer who's now 2.5 years in? They hear all of this stuff. They see that there's optimism, but also a bleak future. How do you keep people motivated and optimistic despite all of the challenges that we continue to face 2.5 years later?
Well, I always tell people, just go learn history. If you want to get depressed and see the situation and say, oh, just see the history of the Jewish people. We're in the strongest place ever in the Jewish history, 3,000 years. Look at us today, Boca Raton, New York, even with Mamdani, Israel, Europe. We have a strong presence. And we have to remember one thing. And last week, Eli Zaira, who was the head of intelligence of 1973 war, the Yom Kippur War, passed away. Eli Zaira, I love history. Eli Zaira was a person who was in charge of all intelligence of Israel in 1973. And he dismissed everything he had. Every time they said, oh, the Egyptians are getting organized for war, they will never do it. We just had the 1967 war. In 6 days, we wiped out everyone. We conquered everything we wanted. We are now in control. No one's going to ever do it. And look what happened only a few years later. 5, 6 years after 1967, boom. They almost wiped out Israel. Eli Zaira passed away now. Same thing happened on October 7th. We had Aaron Khaliva then, who was the head of intelligence, who had all the signs in the world, but he dismissed everything. We have to remember that in Israel and the Jewish community has to be strong all the time. We can't relax. We can't say, okay, we're taking a break now. And even after a war of 2.5 years, and I tell my volunteers in Israel, we have 8,000 members. I said, we're not done. And I don't think we'll ever be done. We have to train. We have to always be prepared. Now we're doing mass casualty incident training for all over Israel. Why? Because in case we have a war with Iran again, Iran could hit us again. Iran is getting prepared for that. In case we have chas v'shalom or earthquake, that could happen too. So you can't say, oh, Hatzalah, okay, we just had a war 2.5 years. Guys, take a vacation. Only babies are going to be born now. Heart attacks, maybe, babies, maybe that. We might have another very bad war we should be prepared for. I wish Israel will always think this way. If we always think this way, then we might have another war coming, the same way Hatzalah thinks, and we always thought like that. I always, if you remember, all the years I came here, and he always said to me, Rabbi, what do you still need to fundraise? Why do you still need to do this?
We'll get to that.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say, we always need to have the preparedness and readiness for the next disaster, the next Meron chas v'shalom.
Out of 8,000 volunteers, how many do you know personally by name? My mother told me, and we give our condolences. Eli, recently suffered a loss and we're sitting Shiva. My mother said, as volunteers came in to pay the Shiva call, when they would leave, you would say to my mother, to other people who you know, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. You won't believe the story that he did, that she did, what happened here, what happened there. Out of the 8,000 volunteers, how many do you know?
I think I know, not all 8, but I know a lot of them. I would know thousands of them, and I care about them, and I love them. And I think the biggest donors of Hatzalah are not in Boca Raton. The biggest donors of Hatzalah are these volunteers, or the volunteers. Not Miriam Adelson is the biggest donor. The biggest donor is a guy called Sammy, who's a taxi driver in Yerushalayim, and he goes out to 5 emergencies every day for free. He stops his work. He could kick out a customer out of his taxi. He's driving a customer from the Waldorf to Tel Aviv, and he says, I'm so sorry, I have an emergency. You have to leave or stay. Just wait. I'm going to go save someone. He's a crazy guy. He's a meshuggah, like all of us. Carries this orange vest, and he loses money every day by saving people. And these are our donors. So how could I not know him? I have to know all the most important donors.
Amazing. So, it's said that when God needs some money, he calls Eli Beer. So,
it reminds me that they say the difference between Donald Trump and God. God doesn't think he's Donald Trump.
Let's hope he doesn't see this episode,
exactly,
Eli.
exactly.
You won't be invited back.
Yeah,
so you're one of the great fundraisers of our time. And I don't mean that because you're some salesman. I mean that you believe in what you founded and what you do. You know the difference that it makes, and you've been able to get a world of people on board in doing that as well. Help us, both as fundraisers and the audience, understand in whatever they're doing, because everything in life is sales. It doesn't matter what profession you have and what you're doing. Everybody's a salesman, a fundraiser. Everyone's. What's the secret of your success? Here you are, a Haredi kid from Bayit Vegan, started this organization that, thank God is incredibly successful by measures of volunteers, lives saved, and also, thank God the financial health of the organization. You're going to have a gala here in Miami, and every year I sit there and I say, can Eli just give like 10% of this back to BRS? Just a little bit. What he'll raise in one night, we don't raise in 10 years. So what's the secret to it?
I think, first of all, I really believe in siyata d'shmaya. I'm like, I can't say this to 2 rabbis. Like, I'm the one who, as a simple Jew, I think God loves the organization, and I somehow got a good relationship. I think that's the key. But second of all, believing in the mission. I will never leave anywhere, my house. I would go on vacation without this vest. I would walk around the streets with a brochure or something about United Hatzalah. I don't go to sleep at night before I think about what I'm doing the next day to help the organization. Like 24/7. This is United Hatzalah. Wherever I go. And people really fall in love with the organization, not only donors. I'm saying, as I said before, the donors are the volunteers too. And I treat the volunteers the same way I treat the donors and vice versa. So I really think believing in the mission and fighting for the mission, not taking a vacation. Okay, I'm 2 weeks off. I don't want to talk about United Hatzalah. So really, people really feel like even donors who invite me for Shabbat, which someone invited me for Shabbat, they know that I'm there. I'm going to talk about this organization. People invite me to their boats, to their vacation homes. And I'm not selling because I believe in this. I really think about this. My kids are following my footsteps as volunteers. So I think United Hatzalah is an example. And I'm not the only one. I think every one of the 8,000 members, and you've seen them in Israel. One of them is your brother. They actually love the organization. They feel connected. And it starts with me, and everyone else is like that. And the donors are like that. Donors keep thinking about it. We were just on the way here, and the donor calls me, and he's very important. He's getting honored, Barry Skolnick. He's one of the biggest donors of the hospitals here in Florida. He's the chairman of Mount Sinai. And he says, I need to get more people involved. I need to get this guy. He says, he's not Jewish, but he would love what you do. Like, this is the way we need. Everyone should be connected. Not only Sammy, the taxi driver, but the biggest donor of the organization should feel the same.
It's definitely genuine. It's coming from you. You're living and breathing it. Is there a professionalism or strategy? What would you tell people? Is the amount of touches that you have? You remember the birthdays. You guys do great videos to commemorate an anniversary or celebrate an anniversary, and here's all the lives that you
I'll tell
saved.
you what I think he does better, almost than anybody else I know, and then you'll answer the question. You are a brilliant storyteller. Even just listening to you right now, when you talk about Sammy, the everyday taxi driver, it creates an image in everyone's head of what. And I've heard you many times from the pulpit here. You're always telling stories, and I think it's the stories that really resonate and relate to people. But I'm wondering if there are other strategies also.
I think the fact, and I'll just give a few secrets, I actually think being very transparent with the supporters or donors about not only the successes, also failures. They feel connected when you're one-on-one, but of course, building a personal relationship is the most important thing. When a donor knows he's not only a donor, he's a friend, and you're there for him, and he's there for you, and in any situation, and being involved with their life, and inviting them to your home, and being part. Like, a donor is not just once a year, come get a check. If you think that's the job, you're going to get a 1 or 2 years, that's it. But if the donor knows you're there 12 times a year, not only 7, your bar mitzvahs, birthdays, Neely Falik from here,
Sure.
the Falik family, a very big philanthropist. Neely is going to be the chair of our gala with another family, the Silber family, Mark and Barbara. So I'm telling you personal names, right, of people. Neely has great-grandchildren already who are supporting United Hatzalah, and she's a birthday yesterday. Calling her and wishing her a happy birthday makes a very big difference. Think about it. It takes 5 minutes of your time to call. It's not only people like her, even like smaller donors. You call a donor, even a person who didn't give a lot, and he gets that attention. I'll give you an example. This weekend, I was in Miami, and I saw a family from Brooklyn, and they're not big donors, but they're nice people, really, really nice people. And they saw me, and they said, oh, we're having lunch in this restaurant. Could you join us? I said, you know what? Could I come for 10 minutes? I came for 10, 20 minutes. It made such an impact. And they know they're not big donors. Talking about they some years they don't give at all. But they did give, and they saw in the street, giving them a little nachas, a little personal connection. The back to support the organization.
You ever have boundaries of who you don't take donations from? If you find out somebody's indicted, somebody's a criminal, there's questions or accusations, or they're sketchy, would you turn down that donation? What's Hatzalah's opinion about evangelical money? I recently was sitting next to a pastor who, through his evangelical network, has raised tens of millions of dollars for Israel. And even the people who are principled and said they would never touch that money, little do they know that the medical care they're getting in parts of Israel, if there's a hospital, it's because they donated it. Or if a fire engine comes to rescue them, it's because that firehouse was donated by them. So does Hatzalah have strict rules on its donors if they're criminals or alleged criminals, if it's coming from non-Jewish sources, what those sources are?
Well, that's an amazing question. And we had these debates many times. And I just said, and this is a rule we have, if someone has an agenda of hurting the Jewish people, we will not take them because we're there to save the Jewish people. So we had checks we returned to missionary groups that come to Israel, not the evangelicals who love Israel, who don't have an agenda of missionary. If they have a missionary agenda, we will not take money. And because it hurts the Jewish people. When they come to Israel and we had a story of a organization who out of the blue showed up and gave us a very big donation. And I said, who are they? They had a very Jewish name. And I looked in and I see they are Jews for Jesus and they are in Israel trying to recruit people to join their group. We gave back the check. We didn't want to take money. And a lot of organizations said, what do we care? I said, look, we're there to save people. I don't think they're saving people. They're hurting the Jewish people. Simulation is part of the problem we have. But others like Pastor Hagee and others who are giving money to Israel, they don't have an agenda like that. They have their beliefs and that's questionable also what exactly their beliefs. But for now, they're our best friends. And these, in our gala, we're honoring now two non-Jews. One non-Jew is Mike Pompeo. He's a religious Christian, and he really loves Israel. If he wants to write $1 million check, it's fine. We'll take the money. And we're honoring him because he loves Israel, and he has no agenda besides loving Israel. So we have to always check to see what's the agenda behind it. If someone's a big criminal and they're giving us money to clean themselves up, to show it, we have to check it out. I mean, we do. A lot of times we have these situations.
Eli, every time I see you, and I admire you for so many things, but one of them is that whenever I'm talking to you, you feel so present in the conversation. I'm a little nobody. I'm not a big rabbi. I'm certainly not a big donor to United Hatzalah. But I feel like yet, maybe if I win the lottery.
We almost
got it. I was a few numbers off. No, but really, every time I feel like I talk to you, like you see me. In other words, you're very present in the conversation. Is that something that comes natural to you? Is it something you work on? Are you a naturally just relaxed person and able to be present in conversations? Or are there things that stress you that you have to overcome in order to be present in those conversations?
I must say, these are the things I never got asked. But I'll be open.
We're behind the Bima now.
This is amazing. I'm going to be open about my personal challenges I had over the years. And I became better and I learned. And I think I used to be invited to very important conferences. And years ago, the World Economic Forum. And I got awarded as a young global leader, which is a big macher. And you meet all these, Bill Gates is right next to you and all these other guys. And I learned something very, very important there. I really learned something very important. And I wrote it in my book, 90 Seconds. I went there and I realized very, very wealthy people, billionaires, they want to always meet people who are wealthier than them. They don't want to pay attention to people who are... they don't want to meet a millionaire. They want to only meet someone who's a really bigger billionaire than them. And then I went to an event there in the World Economic Forum of the Bank of America. They had a nice, evening event. And no one was talking to me because I was like, what do you do? I said, I build this fast response of volunteers who come immediately. And
how much are you worth?
Yeah, exactly.
And they listen.
How many yachts do you have?
Very nice. And they walk away very fast. And my wife was there with me, Gitti, and I said to Gitti, no one really cares about what I do. I could save the whole world. They don't care. They just want to meet richer guys than them. And I said, you want to see how they do care about me? I'll show you. And they want to talk to me. So one guy comes over to me, and my wife's there, and she didn't expect this. And the guy says, what do you do for a living? I said, I own a falafel stand. The guy says, a falafel stand? Falafel stand? I said, yeah. I said, in Madison and 53rd, I have this falafel stand. I sell falafel. He looks at me, he says, falafel? Is that the Israeli, the Mediterranean thing? I said, yes. He looks at me, he says, So how did you get invited to the World Economic Forum?
So it's a very successful falafel stand.
Yeah, I said we sell so much volume a year. I made $50 million last year. He says, how did you do that? I said, I don't change the oil. I make like I just made up a story. The guy called all his friends over to hear my story because I sell falafel, $50 million of falafel. That's more interesting than motorcycles, ambulances, helicopters, saving lives. That's not interesting. That's not making money. So I told my wife, I have to start paying attention to everyone. Because if you see a guy and you just dismiss him, basically, oh, what do you do? I'm a rabbi. Oh, okay. I don't want to meet a rabbi. I want to meet the donor of the shul. If you give attention to every person for the long run, it's going to be the best thing. And I started paying attention to people. And before that, I was like them. I used to see someone and talk to them in the face and look above their shoulders to see who's the next guy I want to talk to, more importantly. And today, and I realize that's the worst thing for a fundraiser. Because sometimes, you get stuck with a person. And you see this a lot, I'm sure. It's like he's just finished speaking in front of 1,000 people and everyone's like excited. And all of a sudden this old lady comes over and she says, oh, my grandmother grew up with your grandma. And you get stuck. What do you do? And you see this billionaire walking around and you want to talk to that person. But you know what? For the long run, it's worth it for you to learn how to give attention to the person talking to you. And it changed my life.
I want to go back to something you said before. It really struck me. One of the successes of fundraising is that you live and breathe Hatzalah 24/7. The vest comes with you wherever you are. Whatever you're doing, on vacation, at home with your family, it's what you're thinking about. In a very different scale, I relate to that because, BRS, the work we do here, our work in trying to inspire and teach and share Torah to the world, also it's sort of synonymous with who I am. And I waver between that being an asset, a wonderful thing, to be so intertwined and so connected and live and breathe it, to it also being a liability that who am I and what's my identity without it? If it were taken away from me tomorrow, what's left of who I am? And do you ever struggle with that? Does your family ever say to you, does Gitti say, Eli, or your children say, Abba, like turn it off, shut it down. We get it. We love Hatzalah too. But like enough, you're an Abba, you're a husband, you're an Eved Hashem, you're a friend, you're a neighbor, you're a child. Like just turn it off. It is a beautiful, incredible thing you built. It is a legacy, but it isn't your identity, who you are. How do you navigate the wonder of it being part of who you are, which is part of the secret of its success, but also the danger of it being part of who you are, that you have to have an identity and a life separate and apart from it?
That's a brilliant question. I'll say, first of all, I have an answer that I have to divide it to two. My family. I tell my family, stop talking about Hatzalah. It's funny because we sit around the table. My wife is a volunteer. She's a paramedic. My daughters, 3 out of my 4 are volunteers. My youngest, 18, is going to be one soon. My son is finished the Army. He's a paramedic. He's a medic in the Army, and he's joining Hatzalah now. And my 2 son-in-laws. So think about it. I'm sitting around the table. All they want to talk about is, first of all, they want to complain. Oh, that guy, this, and that. I don't want to hear any complaints. I'm not in the Hatzalah office now. Like, I want to sit and just enjoy a meal, hear about the kids, So I'm the one pushing to stop talking about the organization. They actually are waiting for me. It's like a meeting. Literally a Shabbos dinner. It's like they all have an agenda.
Right.
This guy didn't get a motorcycle. This guy's complaining. This guy this and that. And they people talk to them to talk to me. So I actually say nothing in the table. I'm the one. And I love it that they want to talk about it, but it drives me nuts. And sometimes I really get upset. Like, what are you like? It's like I felt like I'm a lynch. They're lynching me. That's the first part. The second part is I realized something very important in fundraising. Being a friend of donors is not only talking about United Hatzalah. And it was very hard for me to learn. I learned it in a hard way. I have a big supporter. His name is Bob Book. I wrote about him in a book. Bob Book, I wrote him in my book. And he's an amazing person. He does so much chesed. He's a really great guy. At one point, he got very upset at me. All I was talking about United Hatzalah, every corner, he invited me to stay with him for a few days. I stayed with him. I had a great time. But I was like, I had to build conversations about other things, understanding other things. I don't know anything about golf. I don't know anything about tennis. So some people, I pay paddle. What is paddle? Like I had to learn stuff to be in fundraising. If you want to be a friend of donors, and he really taught me. Bob said, stop only talking about this. This is years ago, and he made me a better fundraiser by telling me this. Because a lot of donors will not tell you. They just say, I can't have this guy. All he talks about is United Hatzalah. So I had to learn about politics, American politics, Israeli politics. If I'm in Europe, talk about the EU and then talk about like paddle is the new thing now. I didn't know. I have to learn about paddle now because someone started talking to me about paddle, a big donor of ours. And now I'm like learning what is this new thing. So this is part of being like you're a rabbi. You could only talk about Torah and no one's going to come. But I know that every time I am in your shul and I heard both of you speak, you're brilliant speakers, you start with a joke, you start with something funny. It's not like you make people understand you're not only that rabbi that wants to push Torah, but you want to also push other things. You talk politics a little. It makes people understand that you could be a friend, not only a rabbi.
That's huge. Can you shut off the Hatzalah for yourself, not only as a strategy in developing relationships with donors, but for you? Can you go away for a couple days? And, what would you do? Read, learn, not golf, obviously, maybe paddle. But can you turn off the Hatzalah?
Well, that's very, very hard. Honestly, that's my biggest trouble. I can't even fall asleep at night. I have to take a sleeping pill every night. Since COVID, since that episode I had, I think about it all day. And it's everything. I'm partners in a real estate business in America. And my partner says to me, Eli, come on, you don't call. Like, I forget. I'm totally forget that I'm involved with him. I never talk to anyone about it. And I'm like, my life is surrounding this organization. So now I have to shut it off. So I have once a day, I have a rabbi who calls me, Rabbi Eitan, my good friend from Muncie, but he's originally from New Rochelle. And he calls me every day to learn with me, Charusa, 90 seconds a day.
We know him.
You know Rabbi Eitan?
Sure.
So he's amazing. And he pushed me for it. I couldn't do it. I never learned before. Like my whole day is Hatzalah, so I'm like Potter, saving lives, right? So I don't have to learn, I don't have to do anything. I just save lives. And he's like, every day calls me 90 seconds, and I answer him, and I learn with him 90 seconds. That's really that only 90 seconds I'm not.
What does that do for you, that Torah? Tell the people listening that the great Eli Beer, to shut off, learns Torah for 90 seconds.
It really helped me remember who I am as a Jew. Like, some people learn all day. I think that's too much. I think you should learn part of the day. I can't commit myself more than 90 seconds. And anyone who knows me knows it's true. Like, that's who I am. And I think that 90 seconds really brings me back to the essence of being a Jew, to remember the Torah. Like, he gives me a Dvar Torah a day, every day. Yesterday was about Thanksgiving, connecting to, like, every day is connecting. And,
those 90 seconds save your life. Your whole 90 seconds, you're
design
saving
my
other
life.
lives, and the 90 seconds save your life.
Yeah, I actually think, first of all, a lot of people followed me, friends of mine, even non-Orthodox people. I tell them I learn 90 seconds a day. They said, how do you do that? I connect them with Eitan, and they learn with him.
My daughter works for him. My daughter learns with a group of women 90 seconds a day.
Really?
We're signing people up, and it's such a beautiful thing because there's nobody on earth who can say, I don't have 90 seconds. And that way, not one day goes by that you haven't learned at least 90 seconds. Like, whether it's Hatzalah or whether you're a lawyer or whether you're in private equity, whatever you're in, you need 90 seconds where that's not who you are, 90 seconds where you remember who you are. It's an anchor. It's a beautiful program he has.
And I never thought I could do it. I made up with him a week, and then another week, and I'm doing this for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And I said, I never had a Charusa before. Like, I couldn't even in yeshiva, like, I never showed up for Charusa.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm learning 90 seconds a day. And I think as a Jew, you should commit for Judaism. Put your business aside. So United Hatzalah is 24/7 besides 90 seconds.
Right. Amazing.
I love that. One of the things you read about a lot in the news recently is that whether it's millennials or Gen Zs or whatever we want to call them, they are the selfish generation, right? It's a generation of the iPhone and it's all about I. You've somehow broken through that and created a culture where volunteerism is exciting and celebrated. What are some ways that you've done that? In other words, how have you tapped into this very selfish, narcissistic generation, and yet you've created this culture of volunteerism? And what have you learned about our generation? when everyone else is knocking it, you've seen the best of young people stepping forward and volunteering their time. What gives you hope in terms of the next generation?
Well, I love that question because I really see the best of the best. The people I hang out with are only good people. So I don't like, a lot of people have businesses that they have to negotiate with people and they steal from each other and they lie and they this. I deal with good people in essence of good, like people from all sectors. Like it could be a guy from Meshar, Toldus Aaron, who wants to be a volunteer and he had to hide the fact that he's in a volunteer organization that is not, like a hidden. And now, thank God, we have 30 volunteers from Toldus Aaron, 30. Wow. And I went to visit them. And then you could go to a kibbutz in the south of Israel in a place where in Yom Kippur, they have a big barbecue. And you meet the best of that kibbutz. And all of a sudden you realize that you are a magnet of people who want to do good. And in all like locations that I go to, even Arab communities in Israel, which is shocking sometimes. I had last week in Abu Ghosh, 150 young men and women, Arab women, Muslim, who came for a yearly event that they came to, celebrate. They're all volunteers. And they're in part of United Hatzalah, and they are proud of it. And I had Jason Greenblatt there. And I just saw
this today. It was great.
And Jason had tears in his eyes. He was negotiating with the king of Bahrain and the king of Abu Dhabi and this and that. And he's like dealing with, all of a sudden he sees that in Israel, there is an organization that brings together people who just want to do good. And I always thought it was only in the frum communities, which is really interesting. You see Hatzalah here, the Hatzalah in Boca Raton, and Hatzalah in New York and Miami and other places. And they're amazing people. They do unbelievable work, but they come from the frum community. So I grew up in Bayit Vegan. And that's who surrounded me from volunteers. And all of a sudden today, United Hatzalah has over 8,000 volunteers. And almost 800 of them are Muslim. Wow. Now, I was shocked to see what Muslims they're there to kill us. Yes, they have a small population in Israel who actually want to be part of what's going on in Israel. And we have to embrace it. And we have to actually look for these people to bring them in.
Do you worry about vetting them? This may be politically incorrect, but we're living in such a time that you have to be suspect. Do you worry that somebody's going to sign up to be a Hatzalah volunteer when the truth is that, they're from Hamas or they're from even the Palestinian Authority? There's some from nefarious plan and they want to get on the inside where they can create that. The very event that you're training people to have to, God forbid, respond to could be created from somebody who breaks in as a volunteer.
Well, I had that issue like 18 years ago when I started joining Arab volunteers from East Jerusalem. That a guy who was in politics. He's a good friend of mine now, but he was attacking me. His name was Aryeh King. He was like, now he's like the deputy mayor of Jerusalem. And he was like, Eli, you're taking terrorists and they're gonna kill people. And he was attacking me even on the radio, national radio. I had once a debate with him. And I said, I never heard of a terrorist who wants to go through a year of a course of CPR, delivering babies, oxygen, and IVs, if he could just take a car and run over people and kill them without a year course. Like, why would someone go through a whole vetting process that we have? We actually check everyone, interview them. They go through the course. They go through at least 10 tests during that year. And then they're not going to go kill people. And I think this was the best success we had. Bringing people from communities that we didn't trust each other into one organization. I think, people who are very right-wing in Israel were shocked when I did this, and then they became the biggest supporters, like David Friedman, who lives right here.
Yeah,
David Friedman, you could ask him. When we had a board meeting, he was on that board many years ago, and we said, and I thought he's going to be against it. He said, this is brilliant. And that's actually one of the reasons he became ambassador, because when he had a hearing in the Senate, they asked him about what he does in life. And when he got to United Hatzalah, like, everyone lit up. Oh, wow, Jews and Arabs saving lives together. And he had a Democrat vote for him because of that. We needed that extra vote. And that's the beauty about this organization. We actually check everyone, no matter if they're Jewish or not Jewish, to see who they are. And we want to see if they don't have criminal records or anything else. But once they join, they become committed. Their life changes. Same way I wear this vest every day. They have it with them wherever they go, and they jump into the suit and go save people's lives.
Well, you are amazing at name dropping. You mentioned Marilyn Adelson. You mentioned Mike Pompeo. Obviously, Rabbi Goldberg is going to be at the gala.
Oh, yeah, right up there.
You've met kings and politicians and gazillionaires. Is there anyone that you'd love to get in front of? Is there anyone out there that you say, if I could just get...
Who's on your short list?
If I could get 5 minutes with that person, I could turn them into a donor, into a supporter, into a lover of Israel. Who's that person?
First of all, my dream is to go once more into Behind the Bima. That was really one of my...
Check.
No, seriously.
Today you got it.
Think about... I'd rather be behind the Bima with the real deal. Like,
so sweet.
Instead of like, who am I going to meet? The king of Saudi Arabia? Like, come on, that guy... I don't want him to chop me up to pieces. Like I want to be in the real, where the real people are, and the biggest hearts.
That said, who's on your list? Your team, your amazing team. Who are they working on still getting you a meeting with?
We have a list.
We'll help you get the meeting. Give us some names. Come on, we'll set it up for you
afterward.
Ken Griffin is a good guy to have. Bring him over to the gala.
Okay.
He's
here. Local. He's right here.
He's local here. Yeah. So look, I always want to meet. The truth is, meeting people for a picture, I used to do that years ago. It's shtiyot. Years ago when I was younger, oh, you meet this guy, take a picture. It doesn't mean anything anymore. It's like, how do you get someone involved? Someone like these names that we always think about. How do we get them into the shul? How do we get... You could bring here Jeff Bezos into the shul. He'll speak here. It's going to be great. A lot of people will come hear him, but he's not going to donate here. It's like
today. So how do you translate that? How do you translate someone into a donor? How do you translate someone into a believer? If you had Ken Griffin here right now, he would say, I give millions of dollars a year to charity. I have a line from here to New York City with people who are asking me for donations. When you get in there, how do you turn that person who's got a million organizations? Oh, I already support Magen David Adom. How do you say, no, but this is different? Like, give me 5 minutes to explain to you that this is different, and I promise you, it'll not only change my organization, it'll change your life. How do you make that sell quickly?
Well, this is the elevator pitch you have to always practice. And I always say, like, when I meet people like him, I once met in the World Economic Forum, I met Bill Gates. And I said, and I met him in the bathroom. And he had like...
You had him cornered.
30 seconds to washing his hands. And I was like, and I said to him, just to catch his attention, I said, I have an idea that can make you a rich man. So he started laughing. And then he says, what do you do? So I said, I created the fastest medical response, paramedics on motorcycles. That was it. And that was interesting for him to have a conversation. Then he gave me the card of his head of the foundation. And I spoke to him. And he said, I love everything you do. I spoke for 30 minutes with him. And we sat down. And he said, well, we don't do in Israel anything, but if you ever do it in Africa, whatever, But if you meet a guy like Ken Griffin or anyone else like him and you want to bring him involved, like he needs to feel like this is something that he could benefit from. Like this is part of his agenda. Like we love Israel. I will not say Israel is part of it. Like I want to make Israel strong. That's not his agenda. But I created a network of volunteers who will stop everything they do day and night and run out to save other people's lives. And it's the fastest medical response. And their goal is to get there in 90 seconds. So here you have a story. And once they have that story, then you can build a conversation because you need that 30 seconds, not 5 minutes.
When did you come up with the line for Bill Gates? I have an idea that can make you a rich man.
In the bathroom while I saw him, I was like...
It was right then. It wasn't that you said, I'm going to this, Bill Gates will be there. If I cross paths, I should say this.
Yeah. And I met amazing people there. Like, Michael Dell I met there. I'm throwing names not because they have foundations you could look, they support. And it took me 30 seconds to give him that pitch. And then I sent him already by email my TED Talk. Then, many years ago, that was a great way of me, like a guy like him, he knows what TED Talks are. So once he heard that, he said, I want to support the organization.
What about, you mentioned the Democrat who voted for Ambassador Friedman because of the work of Jews and Arabs together, Muslims together. Have you tried or thought of not only your work in Hatzalah and saving lives, but obviously somebody who dedicates his life to represent and gain support for Israel? What about Jewish celebrities in America? So many of whom are liberal, are left-leaning, have not been there for Israel the way they should the last 2+ years. What about getting them to see the beauty, right? And because Israel's painted as this aggressor and this blood libel of our time that Israel's perpetrated a genocide and all the lives that Israel's extinguishing, How about bringing to them this beauty of Israel? Look how Jews and Arabs as a model working together to save lives. You see or you believe or buy into this worst. Let me tell you about the best. And then getting some of these Jewish celebrities who have enormously large followings to be able to see and celebrate that part about Israel, something they can get behind, even if they're sadly buying into the lies.
It's funny you're saying that, because just this week I got a podcast in Israel in Jerusalem Post, and we were talking about this. We have a Tikkun Olam organization. Forget about the country we're serving in. We actually created something that Jews and Arabs and Christians all could unite in one mission. And we should spread it around, that people should understand that this is the real Israel. What they read in the news of some guys beating up Arabs in some yeshuv in Judea and Samaria, that's not the real Israel. The Israel is what you guys believe in, the rabbis believe in. You believe in this. When I say Arabs, I'm not embarrassed to say it in a shul or an Orthodox shul, because we believe in this mission. And this is who we are. This is the real Jewish nature of helping each other, helping non-Jewish and Jewish. As we never had a situation, when I grew up, I never had in my house, and I grew up in an Orthodox home, we only have to save Jewish people. Never. We go to save everyone. We help everyone. And this is who we are. So I actually want to promote it more. I want to do it more. I want to speak more about not only fundraising, but also promoting who Israel is.
Yeah, because even if you don't raise $1 with it, but you raise lots of supporters of Israel, and you can offset this horrific narrative, that's as much as life-saving mission as raising the dollars, because Israel needs that. The Jewish people
I
need
would
that.
love, even offline, talking about how do I do that. I actually never did. I always think, how do I get more funding for United Hatzalah? But I actually do want to make sure, after 2.5 years, aggressive years against Israel, this was the worst PR.
Yeah.
Right.
We won big time because we had 7 countries battling with us, and look where we are now. But on the other hand, it's a hard time for Jews in the world in terms of PR. And I think if we start talking not only about United Hatzalah, but other organizations like us and companies like us, let's bring the beauty of Israel.
Yeah, for every time Rashida Tlaib or Ilan Omar put out a video that Israel practices apartheid, Hatzalah put out a video saying, apartheid?
Right.
We work together, we collaborate, and we save each other's lives.
Or the mayor, that you're the mayor
You're
elect,
a
you're in violation of international law. Why? Because we're bringing Israelis and Muslims together to save lives. Which international law is that in violation?
It could be a new extended mission of Hatzalah.
Like, I would love to make 100 videos of Arabs and Jews in Israel practicing learning. We actually have Nancy Spielberg is coming out with a documentary about us, about following 2 women, an Arab Muslim woman with a hijab and a religious Haredi woman with a shaitel, training together for MCIs and EMT training with the United Hatzalah. And this is a documentary about the whole process. It's unbelievable to see. And that's the real story. What Mamdani is trying to do, and he attacked us for that we're helping in Judea and Samaria, and we are violating international law. That's nonsense. We're saving lives of everyone. We never said to one person, "Oh, sorry, you're Muslim, we're not going to help you." We help everyone. We put our lives in danger. Actually, on October 7th, we had a Muslim volunteer who was murdered by the Hamas while he was saving lives on the Nova Festival. He came, Awad Dawarsha, and I spoke about this before. He came into the Nova to help people and save people. He didn't run away. He stayed there with Bar Cooperstein and many others who stayed to help people. And when the Hamas came, they saw he was a Muslim. They saw he was an Arab. He prayed 5 times a day. They shot him 25 times. And he was wearing the Hatzalah jacket. And that's who we are. And the world should know about this.
Do you encounter anti-Semitism if you're ever pitching to someone? Do you ever get a response with anti-Israel vitriol that I would never support, or you do enough due diligence beforehand to know that you're pitching to a supporter?
It's interesting. Not in the last 2 years, but before that, I had a few situations where I spoke to very successful Jewish people from here in America, without mentioning names. They said, "Well, we like Israel, but we have nothing to do with Israel. We're Jewish, but we don't support Israel." And I was shocked because I heard that story from my father, as a child, my father grew up in New York in Lower East Side, and my father was raising money for Vada Hatzalah. And he raised money to save Jews running out of Europe. My father was an amazing person. You met my father? Never.
As a kid, actually.
As a kid,
I did,
you did.
In his store. Before I ever heard of Eli Beer, Hatzalah, before you dreamt of Hatzalah.
Macher.
Yeah.
He did so much, and he went from store to store. This is 1943. To try to raise money to save Jews running out of Europe. They had to get into America. They couldn't get them in. And my father went into a beautiful jewelry store, and the guy started screaming at him. He said, the Jews in Europe, they should take care of themselves. They're not our problem. I'm an American. I'm not a European. And he kicked my father out, and my father was crying outside. And I heard the story as a child from my father. He told me the story, and I said to him, how did you overcome? And I was crying when I heard the story. How could a Jew say a thing like that? And then he said to me, a person passed by, and he saw him crying, and he said, why are you crying? And he said, what happened? He said, don't worry. Not everyone understands, and I understand what you're doing. Come to my store. I want to give you $5. And you should come every week because I want to support what you're doing. My father was a kid, 12 years old. And when I heard that story, it shaped my life. And I learned how to deal with people who told me that. And I met a guy who could, in 1 second, write a $10 million, $100 million check with 1 second, no problem. And he said to me, Israel is not in my, I don't care about Israel. I like Israel. He wasn't against. And I was thinking about the story my father told me. So I was thinking about that. Not every Jew is zoche, has a merit. Zoche is merit, right? To help Israel. And we should promote more and more and get them. And eventually I have in my agenda to break him down. Like, I think one day that little
Pinteliad.
Yeah. I mean,
has anyone replicated what you're doing? I mean, you think of anything, Manhattan, Mamdani could use United Hatzalah, the model, not for you to open a franchise there, but the idea of people being trained and be able to respond in 90 seconds in areas where there's high congestion, you can't drive, ambulances can't get through. So are there cities, states, countries that have replicated what you've done?
Well, I think Mamdani is thinking about opening United Hezbollah now. That's his agenda, it looks like. I don't trust that guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Forget him, though. I'm saying Manhattan would be a prime place.
It
But
could
is
be
anyone
open. Like, I would, if Mamdani will change, which you see, you follow the news, he's been in the White House and this and that. I think New York City could benefit from an organization like United Hatzalah. And of course, they have Hatzalah in New York, in all the Jewish communities. They're amazing in Brooklyn and Manhattan and Staten Island, even in everywhere. But outside of the Jewish world, they don't have Hatzalah. They could wait 15 minutes for an ambulance. Someone choking in the 50th floor in a building in Manhattan, that person is dead. But if they have an organization like United Hatzalah, which is peer-to-peer, imagine yourself every
why
building.
don't they? So why isn't? Has anyone? Are there countries in Paris and London and New York, anywhere someone studied and said, Hatzalah's figured this out in 90 seconds. This is the technology. This is these are the volunteers. This is the transportation. Anyone replicating what you're doing?
Well, so we had a replication in New Jersey, in Jersey City, with the mayor of Jersey City, and it was very successful. And then COVID came and the whole thing stopped because of COVID. The unions were like very tough. No volunteers will go out. It didn't make sense to me. But then I took a rest for a few months. I was like out of business. And we had it for 5 years working in Jersey City. Jews and non-Jews in Jersey City were responding. We lowered response time from 11 minutes to 3.5 minutes in Jersey City. So that was our case study that we saw that it could work everywhere. I'm very busy in Israel now, but once things relax in Israel, I want to bring it to another city. Like, I don't know about New York, but I want to bring it to the non-Jewish crowd. I want to bring this beautiful Tikkun Olam idea to a country or a city that will say, we want to do it. Oh, I forgot to mention, we had the deputy mayor, the lieutenant governor of Iowa visit United Hatzalah. And now they're in the process of building United Hatzalah model in Iowa, the state Iowa, with the governor. So they actually are, it's not done yet, but they're in the process of doing it. So one of my missions in life, I'm only 52, so I have a few more years. I want to bring this idea to the world. And you see, when I came here to Boca Raton years ago, they never had Hatzalah here. after speaking and talking about it, people here woke up and they created.
Hatzalah here is fantastic. We were hesitant at first when they first opened, also because we had a very good response time locally, and why do we need that? But Hatzalah is an incredible organization locally, and what they bring not only in the response time, but also the familiarity of the volunteers, knowing the community, people, sensitivity, going well beyond their mission. Other emergency services, if someone passed away, they did they could, they pull right out. Our Hatzalah volunteers stay until the chevra with the family, transport. It's extraordinary. So we're very grateful and supportive, and everyone should support, in addition to United Hatzalah in Israel, but the local Hatzalah as well.
Definitely. And they have Hatzalahs in over 50 places around the world. Wow. And now they're creating one in Colombia, not the university. That's too dangerous. The country. Yeah. The country, Colombia, they're actually creating in the Jewish community there, Hatzalah. I'm very proud when I see Hatzalah volunteers. Chasko Bud and here and other guys here. It's just a beautiful thing that people are willing to stop everything they do. And it's a crazy idea. And it's working. More and more people. We probably have 10,000 kids right now who are dreaming this second, how do we become Hatzalah volunteers, no matter where they live? And we have a program, the Light Legacy Heroes of Children.
You're speaking to our youth department.
Yes, exactly. This is big supporters of ours here in the community. And they have, Lynn and Paul Light. And they're amazing people, your parents' friends. And they said, what about the next generation, the kids? How do we get them involved? And now in this year, we recruited almost 2,000 kids.
It's like the Rebbe's army, Tzivos Hashem. But let me ask you about that, because you were talking about getting kids involved, and obviously on a volunteer level, that's easy and it's exciting and it gives someone a certain purpose. You have a big gala coming up. Rabbi Goldberg made a joke about the amount of money that, please God, you will not just raise, but surpass your goals at the gala. It's very easy for someone to look at that and to look at the names, the Jay Lenos and the, all the speakers that you have and the glitz and the glamour and say, if I have like a small $1,000 to be able to give, a couple $100, and for me that's a big amount, like Hatzalah doesn't need me. They've got the Jay Lenos and they've got the Ken Griffins. They don't need a Phil Moskowitz's $1,000.
So last year, 2 years ago, Elon Gold said, he raised his hand, you were going around, then he raised it, and he says, I'd like to announce a pledge of $1 million. He said, wow. Then he said, I'd like to announce that, but I can't give $1 million. That was a great line.
Right. So, but like, what would you say to a smaller donor, someone who, again, isn't going to move the needle tremendously within Hatzalah, but you want them to feel part of that organization. You want them to feel that they're not just their volunteering, but their donation matters. What would you tell that person?
Well, I think, first of all, you could see, I just, this morning, I read a little email that was sent to a young kid who donated a defibrillator for his bar mitzvah. And he did a project. He didn't donate the money. He actually raised the money for his bar mitzvah. And the defibrillator was $2,500. And he raised a little more. But we have a defibrillator with his name on it that was given to a volunteer in Beit Shan, which is, the border of it's middle of nowhere. Beit Shan is like, most of Americans don't know where that is. And someone had a cardiac arrest in Beit Shan last week. And this defibrillator saved that person's life. And now he's 14 years old. He gets an email. Your defibrillator just saved someone in Beit Shan's life. Isn't that amazing that a kid 12 years old, 14 years old, can get an email like that? You don't have to be, the big macher is giving $1 million. You could give $1,000. You could give $360 to buy an oxygen tank. Hatzalah is made out of thousands of people. Everyone gives the maximum they could give. Some people go out to 10 calls a month, and some people go out to 250 calls a month. Some people give $100, and some people give $1 million. You need Am Yisrael. You can't say, Hatzalah is only for rich people. Hatzalah is for everyone. Same way Hatzalah would treat everyone equally and not charge money for that service. Same way everyone has to support the organization. And not only in Israel, also in America. Yes, Hashem gave success to United Hatzalah. We are I think since we started this organization, we never had a deficit. It's unbelievable. Think about it. So many organizations can't pay payroll. Hashem helped United Hatzalah to be in a situation that we don't have a deficit, but we run the finances in an incredible way. We have an amazing finance committee, audit committee. We have a planning committee. What do we do with the money? This coming year, we're going to train every volunteer in Israel with mass casualty incident training. It takes 2 or 3 days to train volunteers. Even doctors, they come to a situation where they have 50 people injured, chas v'shalom, in a terrorist attack. Who do you treat first? So you have to learn this. It just doesn't come from, you don't learn it on YouTube. You actually have to train and practice. To do a drill like that costs tens of thousands of dollars, one drill. And we're talking about training 8,000 members. So these things cost money. To train one volunteer to join Hatzalah costs $10,000. Why does it cost so much money? Because you have to train them. It takes almost a year to finish the training. You have to give them the walkie-talkie. It costs $2,500. A defibrillator, which costs $2,500. The medical equipment. So we look at it as a package. When we join a new course of volunteers, that's a couple $100,000 that we have to raise for that. So when we do a gala and we bring these fans, like Jay Leno comes and he says, I want to support, and we raise $10 million, that goes for training, that goes for buying oxygen for the year, that goes towards specific projects that we know. Just to start January 1st, we have to pay insurance for over 2,300 vehicles. Think about it. Just one ambucycle insurance is almost $4,500 a year. So millions of dollars just go to pay insurance. Why is that? Because chas v'shalom, if a volunteer of ours gets injured, and we had a volunteer killed just a short while ago on the way to save a life. We had a few, unfortunately, but even though a guy like Bar Cooperstein, who was released, his father was a volunteer of ours, Tal Cooperstein, on the way to save a 4-year-old girl in Cholon, and someone crashed into him. He was on an ambucycle. He is on a wheelchair now. He can't even talk. And that insurance is helping, not enough, of course, but that you're talking about one volunteer that had to get help because of our insurance. Right. So this is what we do, and this is part of where the money's going to. So when we do these events, I want people who don't have money to come to these events. And some people say, I have only a few $100s. Could I come? I said, of course.
Amazing. Eli, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming Behind the Bima again. We're looking forward to a great Shabbos together.
And I really hope to come again. You invite me one day again.
We will. Hashem should bless you. Keep doing your great work. Hatzalah in Israel, Hatzalah locally. And please God, Hatzalah should only have to deliver babies and spend all their time only doing good things.
So
and
mind you,
good
last time I was here, one of the last times I was here, while I was here for Shabbos in Boca Raton Synagogue, the war broke out in Ukraine. Yep. And I was busy the whole shot. I was speaking. Right. You remember that?
Yeah.
And we actually saved a 1-day-old baby.
Yep. Got the baby out.
That's something I'll never forget. Every time I come back here, and I think deja vu, nothing should happen. But
that was powerful. Thank you, Eli. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for listening to Behind the Bima. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week for another peek behind the Bima.